Good afternoon to you. Mark Sutton of HurricaneTrack.com here with your off-season edition of the Hurricane Outlook and discussion for Monday, the 6th of February, 2017. Finally, my voice is almost all the way back from being plagued by a rather nasty upper respiratory infection. Very aggravating. It just slows you down. It's no good. Nobody has time for that, but seem to be doing better, so here I am on a Monday. Good to talk to you. Let's take a look at what's going on. Today's first stop will be the SOI. Pretty healthy daily number here, 26.66, and that has helped to pull the 90-day average up to a little bit more than a point above neutral or zero at 1.14, and the 30-day is just a little bit negative. But all of these numbers, the 30 and the 90, are higher than January and December's end of the month readings for what it's worth. But the bottom line here is we're still hovering consistently close to zero or close to neutral, and that's generally what we have. When the SOI is neutral, we typically are in a neutral pattern of sea surface temperature anomalies or departures from normal across the tropical Pacific. The pressure pattern is such that everything's generally balanced out. You have these intra-seasonal MJO, Madden-Julian oscillation bursts of wind, and then you have a relaxation, and the easterlies will resume. And so it's just kind of back and forth right now, but all in all, not really swinging one way or the other. The eastern Pacific just a little bit warmer than it should be, while the central Pacific still has this cold look to it overall. And the Atlantic Basin, really no big changes here in the main development region, generally at or just slightly above normal. And it is in the upper part of the northwest part of the basin here where temperatures are running quite a bit above normal. And this has been the norm for the last several years, actually, a very, very warm northwest Atlantic. So no major changes this week, no swings of any wild nature one way or the other. Looking at the subsurface, this updated just a few days ago on the 2nd of February. And you notice kind of a fragmented look to the subsurface anomalies, these different islands of warmth here, and then smaller islands of cold interspersed. So again, there's no one dominant feature taking over. A little bit of a larger area of positive anomalies showing up here, but this is still 150 meters below the surface. This is the western Pacific, by the way, and this would be over in the eastern Pacific. And so any surface warmth is really confined right now to the western Pacific. And we're talking about, from the date line, which is about right here, bad straight line, but you get the idea, to all the way over to 160 and 140 east longitude. So we're talking about the western Pacific, where some positive anomalies are showing up at the surface here. Still not really leaning one way or the other towards El Nino, and certainly not a La Nina pattern. And this is more representative of neutral. Okay, so this makes perfect sense. Everything seems to be as it should be, considering the pressure pattern, the SOI, etc. No big surprises this week. So I guess that's good. Actual sea surface temperatures, I like watching this stuff, these beautiful maps, these different isotherms on here, lines of equal temperature. Pretty warm along the Gulf Stream, as you might expect. All those positive anomalies up here in the northwest Atlantic. Some of those correspond with some fairly warm water temperatures at the surface, 23 Celsius. I mean, that's in the lower 70s. I mean, can you imagine that? You get in a boat out of, we'll call it out of Chatham, Massachusetts, and go down to the Gulf Stream here, just a few hundred miles away, and you're in water temperatures here in the 30s and to lower 40s, and you go down, like I said, just a couple hundred miles to the south, and boom, you're in water temperatures that are 74 degrees Fahrenheit. That's pretty amazing. That's pretty good stuff. I like that. And the fish like it, too. I noticed that there was a shark, one of those tagged research sharks, hanging around in this area. And it didn't seem to want to come this far north and leave the warmth of the Gulf Stream. Who would, right? The Gulf of Mexico, nice and warm down in the southeast part of the Gulf. This area running above the long-term average. Elsewhere, water temperatures are slowly starting to warm up just a little bit more overall. Incoming solar radiation is stronger now, the sun angle getting higher in the sky with each passing day, growing daylight each day. And so the water temperatures are going to gradually creep up around this area. But again, nothing really shocking or abnormally different from the way we would expect it to be this time of year. Spring break's going to be coming up starting in March and April, of course, and the shelf water up here where everybody will be spring breaking, whether it be South Padre Island over to the Keys, etc., at least speaking of the Gulf Coast region in particular. Too cold now, but give it 6 weeks, and when spring break really commences, maybe these temperatures will be several degrees higher. That would be nice, I'm sure. All right, so really not much else to talk about regarding the tropics this week. So we'll look at lower 48 weather, where a return to a stormy pattern out west, winter storm watches, warnings, all kinds of flood advisories, etc., throughout this region. If you're traveling out this way, make sure you're aware of it. This has been a very positive thing for the long-term drought-busting benefits of these storms that have been rolling in off the Pacific, one after the other. There have been some problems, though. Of course, when weather turns against us, it usually means that somebody has to pay. And so there is a negative side to it, the impact to humans and our property, etc. But in the bigger picture, these stormy days that we have had, and there have been a lot of them this year, and it's interesting, like I said last week, it's not an El Nino pattern, so this is kind of unusual. Nevertheless, though, this is definitely a positive thing out here. You need all the water you can get stored in the snowpack, so that'll melt away and gradually get into the groundwater and replenish those reservoirs and the streams and rivers out there as we get into the summer months. So enjoy it while it lasts. Meanwhile, in the southeast, everything's nice if you're leaving the Houston area from the Super Bowl. What a game that was. That's all I'll say about it. I like sports, but this isn't a sports commentary. But yeah, if you're flying out of Houston or you're driving back across the I-10 corridor, for example, or even I-20 up through here, close enough, not bad at all, at least for today and tomorrow. For folks that are heading back home, though, if anybody flew out of New England to go see the game, a few travel issues maybe over the next couple of days, but all in all, no huge disruptive weather systems. We don't have any of those big storms, nor'easters, coming along. This is an interesting satellite shot, east coast of the United States here. Again, for the most part, the eastern third of the U.S. nice and clear. All of this gold color up here is actually cold air. The infrared satellite picture able to sense that cold air. And thankfully, at least for my taste, it's locked away up in Canada. And here's that storm system coming into the west. Again, that's good news for them. But times are going to be changing a little bit over the next few days. I want to put this into motion. This is actually the mean sea level pressure and the precipitation over the next week. So you've got areas of low pressure, this one developing right here. Maybe some severe weather for parts of the southeast, deep south, Ohio Valley, etc. And then this moves up into the northeast where cold enough air may come in to produce some snow showers with that as it moves through, and a secondary low pressure tries to form just off the mid-Atlantic states. We'll see about that. Again, no major storms. And then nice high pressure builds in across the southeast towards the weekend, probably below freezing again for portions of the Carolinas and the southeast. But then that high slides offshore. The return flow around that high off the Atlantic and the Gulf means a quick warm-up again next week after this coming weekend. So once more, a look at it. There's the storm system coming into the west here on day 1 and 2. Again, a look at that storm system that moves across the deep south. Colder high pressure coming in. Low pressure forms off the mid-Atlantic. So maybe, just maybe, some decent snows for interior portions of the I-95 corridor. Check your local weather and weather.gov, G-O-V, for specific info on that. But really the bottom line is no big-time powerhouse nor'easters like we saw in 2014. Yeah, a little bit anyway, and especially 2015. And then we had one big one last year at the end of January. So far, it has been very benign along the east coast of the U.S. with none of that action to speak of, just a couple of weak ones so far this year. As I mentioned, I don't know why I guess it's refreshing itself. The severe weather potential growing just a little bit, some warm Gulf moisture coming in, feeding this system as low pressure takes shape across this region. So there is the threat for severe weather, mainly wind and hail. If we mouse over that, you can see 5% chance of hail, or wind, and more of a bullseye of 15%. Luckily, tornado threat is only 2%. So really, this is just something to keep an eye on. It's only a slight risk, and this is today and tonight. If we look at day 2, that slides east across Tennessee, Kentucky, and portions of the lower Ohio River Valley and parts of northern Mississippi, Alabama, northwest Georgia as that front moves east. And finally, by day 3, the energy starts to run out with the system. If this will, well, there it is. So just general marginal thunderstorm conditions across the southeast. Really nothing to be too concerned about. It's not like the big widespread outbreak that we had that brought tornadoes, and a lot of them, over 70, if I remember correctly, for parts of the deep south back a couple of weeks ago. So overall, a pretty benign weather pattern compared to where it could be this time of year. Yes, it's going to be stormy, and there are certainly some weather systems to keep an eye on, but nothing that is massively disruptive, especially for travel and things like that. Really nothing to get too excited about. Just sort of your garden variety winter weather as we move through the month of February. All right? So real quick update on the video. I've been talking about it a lot. Yes, I'm almost done with the documentary. This Friday, I'm going to do a special video sort of teasing about it, if you will, where I talk about it and sort of set it up. And then on Monday, I'm hoping to have part 1 for you to preview on YouTube. It's a 2-part series, and believe me, it needs to be, because it's going to be like 2.5 hours long. Part 1 will cover sort of what we've been doing up through 2016, 2009 to 2015. And I think you will really appreciate the look back at where we've come with our technology and all the different things we have developed over the years. And it's just amazing to see how things have evolved. So that's like an hour and a half or something. It's about an hour and 24 minutes, part 1. And then part 2 covers the 2016 hurricane season specifically. And it's very exciting. It's some of my best work yet. If you've seen my other documentaries, whether they're on DVD, if you own those, or seen them on YouTube. And the thing I like the best is it's in high definition and 16:9, widescreen format. All of my other stuff, the last one that I did was 2008. And, that's back when we still basically had 4:3 televisions, the square, the boxes, right? That was horrible. And pretty much all standard definition, at least from what I was doing. So now it's all much better, and I'm very excited about it. So on Friday, I'll do a special video talking about the upcoming release of the documentary, the Tracking the Hurricanes 2016 edition. I'm very excited about it. It's taken a couple months to put this together, but you'll see the work really went into making this very detailed. If you're a weather geek and you like tracking hurricanes, you're really, really going to like this. It's very special, and I'm very proud of it. All right? So that's it from me for today. Thanks, as always, for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, and follow on Twitter. I do have it privatized at the moment, but that doesn't mean you can't follow me. You just have to send me a request so they know that it's you and not one of those egg robot spam things that thousands of them are trying to follow me and other people that I know. It's a real problem. Story for another day. But do follow on Twitter if you want to, and I will approve that request, because, hey, I'll know it's coming from you. Thanks again. Have a great rest of your week ahead. I'm Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack.com. And look for that video teasing the 2016 documentary this Friday.